All right, so most of you guys are probably familiar with Stonetoss. He's the guy in the Amogus meme, the one where it's like the little dude, and there's a little Amogus, and they look at each other, and the guy says, Amogus. But he's not just that guy. That's actually an edit of his comic. Stonetoss is a greasy little Nazi dude who used to go by the name of Red Pains. Back then, he made much less well-drawn, much cringier and mask-off right-wing comics. And then he eventually rebranded and left that identity behind and became who we now know as Stonetoss, where he has made everything from just apolitical viral memes that go extremely viral and just get a lot of people watching them, all the way to full-on Nazi memes that are meant to sort of radicalize the fans of Stonetoss into his far-right ideas. Oh, damn, my ribs did not like that. Stonetoss, not a good guy. He's pretty cringe. Apparently, I may be wrong about this, but didn't he, get arrested? Maybe I'm mixing that up with... I might be just thinking of Nick Fuentes right now, but I could have sworn he got arrested or something big got exposed about him recently, but it's been a while, so I honestly don't know. But the reason why we're talking about Stonetoss is because a big YouTuber who makes sort of documentary videos about creators and stuff named The Gamer from Mars made a video called The Internet's Most Hated Cartoonist. And guess who it's about? Oh, he got doxxed. That makes sense. Guess who the video's about? It's about Stonetoss. Now, I feel like I know this guy's history well enough, but I figure that watching a video that does a good job of laying it all out might give us a decent insight into how these right-wing pundits are able to get so big and reach so many people. I think it's an important topic, so let's go ahead and take a look, guys. The internet's most hated cartoonist. I love this Family Guy sketch here.
Growing up, political cartoons seemed to be a dying art. The convoluted pictures with titles displaying what each element represented looked like something from a forgotten black and white era. But the internet tends to add a fresh spin on things, such as the case with Stonetoss, the internet's most infamous cartoonist. His controversial takes have made him a household name on sites such as Reddit and Twitter, leading to detractors carrying a burning hatred for the mysterious man behind the bright illustrations that have been seen by tens of millions. But why exactly is Stonetoss so divisive? And what is the story of the man behind the account? Well, after a lot of digging, I'll share my findings today, with the story being a lot more intriguing than most may believe. The first known
Is it just me, or has Gamer from Mars, looks maxed? I could have sworn, because I've watched this guy for a while, I could have sworn, 2 years ago, he was a bit heavier, and I feel like his skin wasn't as clear. I feel like since the last time I've watched him, he's looks maxed. He's it's like he's 5 or 10 pounds, lighter maybe, but he's replaced it all with muscle. And his face is clear and shit. Damn. He's looks maxed. Good to see. Love to see it. He's been mewing every day. You can tell he keeps up the mew streak. Gotta look in the mirror and just intensely stare into your own eyes while mewing for 3 hours a day. Otherwise you can't looks max. That's how it works.
With the story being a lot more intriguing than most may believe. The first known Stonetoss comic was published on his website back in July of 2017. It had been made a month before alongside his Twitter account, which both became active shortly thereafter. These comics were quite ideologically driven, frequently expressing far-right beliefs. The goal was, in his own words, to provide a psychic chemotherapy against mental cancer of liberalism and soy-based dieting. This caused him to quickly become known for sneaking in themes of racism, homophobia, and other forms of bigotry into the comics. Many have since been deleted, like this strip about pitbull owners. Careful man, pitbull. Dude, it's not the breed, it's the owner. What's so special about pitbull owners? There's no shortage of anti-Semitism either. Don't let the man control you, just open your mind. Honestly, it seems more likely that prisoners died from insufficient supply lines in war-torn Germany rather than enough delousing chemical to gas 6 million. Shut up! This would become a contentious topic later on as people...
But you gotta remember, and I feel like this is a really important factor in the story, so I hope he brings it up. Stonetoss's most popular comics weren't those. The first Stonetoss comic I ever saw was completely apolitical. Is this the highest quality version of it that exists? I guess so. Well, okay. This is all we got. This is the first Stonetoss comic I ever saw. A guy who's got a shirt on that says boobs and a guy who's got a shirt on that says ass, because they're, you know, they disagree, but they shake on it and they turn. We see why they're shaking on it. It's because they both hate the freaks who like feet. And I saw this meme and I liked it. I thought it was funny. And so you can imagine that I was quite disappointed when I found out that Stonetoss was a Nazi. But that comic was one of his most popular. And most of his most popular comics or things involving him are memes and jokes that are completely outside of the political side of his content. He brings in the normies and then he radicalizes them. It was very effective.
Questioned if he actually believed what he said, or if he was just being an ardent free speech supporting edgelord. But before we go any further in today's video,
No.
I just wanted to give...
Alright, we'll skip past the sponsor. It's a pretty long sponsor segment. Mando. I don't know what it is, but it seems like it's some kind of, like, hygiene product.
I could go through all his comics that demonstrate this, but the point I'm trying to make is it's generally not something he tried to hide. Daily reminder that the correct response to people accusing someone of being a racist or a Nazi isn't, but what is he really? It's actually, so what? Despite this, it only took 7 months.
That is actually an interesting point from Stonetoss, because the idea of that is to say, don't deny it. Force them to argue against it. It'll trigger them. It'll upset them. Lefties get emotional, and when they get emotional, they look wrong. People just don't really vibe with those that are arguing in an emotional way. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having an emotional reaction to something that affects you or that you care about. But you got to remember, conservatives don't really care about anything, so they benefit from the fact that they can be very irreverent and disconnected emotionally from the things they're talking about, while actively prodding you and using your emotional attachment and care for making the world a better place against you. It's your biggest weakness, and they know it, is that you care about this stuff, and they don't.
For his account to reach 20,000 followers. These comics spread like wildfire throughout right-wing communities. They quickly became favorites of 4chan's politically incorrect board, the Donalds, as well as sites like...
Sup, YouTube, it's me, Logic Obesity 69, back for another insightful discussion. Folks, did you know that racism is bad? For those that don't know, this comic was released by Stonetoss right when Vosh was blowing up. And he was like debating a bunch of conservative pundits. As much as I do not like Vosh these days for a list of reasons, the right did not like him either. And as he was growing, he was debating these people, and a lot of them started to go from eagerly accepting the debates to dodging them for obvious reasons. And there was this sort of like weird panicky thing where a bunch of right-wingers started saying, don't debate BreadTube, and Stonetoss made this comic. And then eventually he made like 4 or 5 other comics about the guy where he eventually like refined it. But this was back when he was just trying to like dog whistle that this was supposed to be that new lefty debater guy who's getting popular, like dismantling right-wing arguments. This one came out like 2019. Right-wingers panic when a new left-wing figure starts to gain a lot of traction quickly. They get like really pissy about it. They see it as a threat.
The Daily Stormer. Stonetoss filled an important niche which he recognized in an interview later that year. I felt that there was an overabundance of comics and content creators more generally that were too conventional, too politically correct, too safe, and too apologetic for the status quo. The comics are meant to touch subjects that other people can't and won't. This is also where we would first learn more about his background. The artist had been using polls since 2011, slowly adopting the image board's beliefs. It was far from his first venture, having made several viral memes over the years. He also admitted to having several different aliases in the past. Under different monikers, I grew a small following, which was fun to have. Eventually, I decided to formalize the process by doing a webcomic brand. I wanted to expand the genre of edgy 4chan MS Paint images into something for consumption by the wider internet. This is what's important to understand his rapid growth. While unapologetic in his beliefs, it didn't necessarily define his humor. In fact, many of his comics lacked any overt political messages. They were simple enough to stand on their own, using his understanding of what made...
He got to the most important point. These were the memes that went viral. He radicalized his fans using the right-wing shit.
...a good meme. That being said, a lot of them had some level of dog whistle built in, but he was so good at what he did that they would still become popular exploitables. Behold our newest ad campaign. Are you sure this will help us sell more burgers? Burgers? His most notable memes include a comic about foot fetishes called Acquired Tastes, which circulated as a things I
Why would I need a heads up about that, Redux?
Don't like macro. This strip depicting a tug-of-war was used for unexpected contradictory alliances. These two strips shown here mocked how frequently Nazi was thrown around online as an insult. Got you. Don't shoot, I'm a Nazi too. Prove it. There are two genders. Phew. It's impressive how effective his comics can be in conveying a point while still being simple and concise, something his opponents quickly recognized. In January of 2019,
it's the running meme about how, or the running joke, I should say, about how lefty memes are a big wall of text and right-wing memes can be 4 panels and their point is made. It kind of brings it all the way back around to how Trump is so successful. None of his policies are actual policies, they're slogans. Make America great again. Bring about the tariffs. Deport the illegals. These sound like policies. They're very easy to recite and relatively agreeable, like punchy slogans, and they make the people who hear them feel like they know Trump's policy, but all they really know are just a bunch of loud slogans. And that's the point. When they think Trump, they think drill baby drill, build the wall, deport the illegals, do the tariffs. They think these slogans, and they sound like policies. The complexities of these things are way too deep for most Trump supporters to understand, so they trust that Trump does. We need stupid slogans, not stupid ones, but punchy ones. Our rhetoric needs to be punchier, less long-winded. And I'm kind of doing the long-winded thing now.
19, a subreddit was created called Antifa Stonetoss. They sought to edit his comics with their own messages, while exposing the creator's beliefs. At that point, it was still a debate as to whether or not he was far-right. This ambiguity was the subject of a massive thread called The Definitive Guide to Why Stonetoss is a Nazi. It analyzed all of the reoccurring themes in his work, as well as his connections to other artists who we'll discuss later on. The effort was popular enough to receive coverage by the Daily Dot. This wasn't the only community dedicated to altering his work either. The sub Stone Tossing Juice took on a more absurdist approach.
There's a few
They
meme
flatly
subs.
denied having a political motive, stating, "We're just here for the jokes, man." However, the two often overlapped in their sense of humor.
Well, that's the point, because Stonetoss's defense, or a lot of Stonetoss's fans' defense, was, we're just here for the jokes.
The more notable meme to spawn...
This is the magic soil.
However, the two...
Yeah, feet. This is the magic soil, like, Nazi argument, where it's like, so simply stepping on American soil turns you American. Sure.
Often overlapped in their sense of humor. The more notable meme to spawn from these communities started with a comic he made about Bitcoin. The strip was published in 2017 and was an early sign of his enthusiasm for crypto-related projects. It's a bubble. It's a bubble. It's a bubble. It's a bubble. Well, in 2021, a user on Antifa Stonetoss altered the final panel to show a crewmate from the indie game Among Us. The speech bubble was changed to simply say Among Us. This started a huge meme, becoming a catchphrase in the irony-centric communities. It got edited further and further into variations so far removed that people often had no idea who the original artist was. One video, which has 4 million views, is about how Among Us, backwards, sounds like Sugma. This trend led every single one of his other comics to be edited with references to the meme. There was even a mod version made for the rhythm game Friday Night Funkin', which itself has 1.6
We use the memes to defeat the memes.
million views. With such a bizarre combination, one might expect Stonetoss to be put off by the edits considering it was spread by his detractors. There was even a viral image where he supposedly said, "Please stop putting Among Us in my comics." However, this turned out to be fake, with the artist actually embracing the meme. Fake tweet, you actually do have my express permission to promote my work by reposting edited versions. Thanks.
That he's coping. The point of posting the edited versions is obviously to muddy the water as to who that guy is, because there's so many names that they'll replace his real, like, one with. It's always Stone Tossing Juice or Pebble Yeet or something. So, like, you wouldn't know that Stone Toss is the real one. You wouldn't recognize a non-edited comic when you saw it. And if you did find out who the real guy is, by then you've probably already seen enough of the memes making fun of him that you know that, okay, there's clearly something up about this guy.
In fact, many of those who helped it go viral in the first place came to regret giving him such an insane amount of exposure. Why the fuck are y'all doing this? It's obvious he only profits from this. You're literally helping the Nazi. To a certain degree, I agree with separating an author with their work. But when it comes to actual fascists, then no, they should be silenced. To be honest with you, Amog. Indeed, this...
What do you mean they should be silenced? How? How do you silence these people? You can't. Like, you can say, oh, these people need to be silenced. Go build a massive multimedia, like, corporation pushing left-wing politics then. I don't know what to tell you. We don't own or have any control over these platforms. Elon Musk does. The right does. Like, what do you mean they need to be silenced? They will not be, like, unless something is done. The logic is just... I don't even know.
virality only seemed to help Stonetoss in the long run. He even sold an NFT by the same name, netting him $7,000. Hey everyone, this guy's a Nazi. Use code AMOGUS for 33% off pebbleyeet.com. At the start of 2020, Stonetoss had just 50.
I do love how it's wild how blatantly these people grift. It's wild because right now I'm being jumped on right now and called an e-beggar. But every time I watch a big conservative pundit's videos or see anything from them, they're e-begging. They're like demanding that people like subscribe to their whatever exclusive whatever, or they're like doing a sponsor segment and that takes up like a third of the video, you know, and there's like no one calling them out for that. And it's like, okay, like these people are just so blatant and so obviously grifters, and no one's calling them out. It's pretty cringe. Caleb, what are you doing? What are you doing, Caleb? You need to calm down. You have to be on ice for a while.
50,000 followers. A year later, he passed 100K. And by the end of 2021, he was at the cusp of 200,000. He was adept at using his critics to promote himself, even making
That's surprisingly few.
a video mocking them while asking for donations. It promoted the site ownlibtards.com.
To answer this question, we interviewed two leading scholars in the field of getting mad about harmless cartoons. After we showed him the work of Stonetoss, the overweight critic offered several compelling rebuttals.
Is that Thought
such as,
Slime?
that's racist, that's weird, and
I think that's Thought Slime.
The success of his comics brought a lot of copycats, with many fraternizing around his work. It spawned an entire circle of alternative right-wing cartoonists. The idea of appropriating their humor led to a similar train of thought that went beyond just editing his work.
because Antifa Stonetoss comics are funny because they're subversions. They're funny. Don't get me wrong. They are legitimately funny, but they're funny because they're subversions and because you're familiar with the original. It's fun to take a Nazi's work and make it anti-Nazi. But that's not the same as this making good comics in and of itself. These right here, these Antifa Stonetoss comics, you couldn't make a comic strip with them. You wouldn't be able to effectively propagandize.
That was political streamer and horse lover Vosh, who suggested
I'm glad he brings it up. For those that don't know, one of the reasons why I am not cool with Vosh these days is that I became aware that while he was live, he opened up his taxes folder. And in that taxes folder, among other things, there was an image of 2 lollies eating a horse's ass. And so that's an interesting thing to have on your computer's hard drives, I must say. Definitely not an accident, on my estimation.
the left could learn from his rhetoric. This clip alone received 150,000 views on YouTube, inspiring several cartoonists like Breadpains. The problem with many of these left-leaning alternatives is that they suffer from over-explaining the joke, losing the brevity and simplicity.
No, like, there's a reason why so many Vosh fans go like, what, when I bring this up. It's because he's played it off as being like, oh, I just like horse dick-shaped dildos or whatever the fuck for all these years. But in reality, like, bro had, like, outright bestiality and lolly porn on his hard drive. That's very different.
Simplicity of the original. You're on my property, pal. However, I will let you drink if I don't get it. I don't like explaining things, but since nobody seems to get this one, I'll have to. The guy's dying of thirst in the desert. He finds an oasis.
Yeah, this is a good example of the problem with lefty comics and memes. You got to explain it. That's the thing. The right is just better at making their arguments in a punchy way. It doesn't need to be truthful because they're not attached to it. So they just say what they have to say. Like, whether or not it's a lie or whatever, like, be damned. They just say what they have to say. Their arguments are what they have to be. Like, this is a sign of someone who is constrained by trying to depict a truthful situation and cannot mold the narrative around what is convenient. And so you end up having to explain the joke. It's hard. It's hard to write a joke about reality because the joke has to conform. You have to write the joke around reality. You can't conform reality around the joke like Stonetoss does or like the right does.
But it turns out to be private property. The private owner allows him to drink, provided the guy becomes the private owner's slave. What's the punchline? Complain about Stonetoss all you want, but he never let his ideology get in the way of a good joke, even if it meant a few people not getting it. But while the leftist alternatives were not nearly as successful, several comics did end up going viral. In 2021, Stonetoss made a post referencing some of Vosh's strangest comments. If you talk about Jews a lot, you're probably a fascist. Anyway, back to the age of consent. This split Antifa Stonetoss in two, with many agreeing with the cartoon.
I hate that comic aged so well. I hate that it aged so goddamn well.
While others refused to cede ground. There was a massive ban wave, causing the mods to fight amongst themselves until the anti-Vosh policy was reversed. The battle to propagandize comics led an animator named Antunes to make an entire game around the concept called Pill Fighters. The roster starred an assortment of political artists, including Stonetoss. This was controversial for a lot of reasons, most unrelated to this video, but it's a good way of demonstrating just how many communities were born out of a single comic strip. Many people who didn't even know who he was started sharing his comics because they were so well spread, only to get backlash and have to delete their post and apologize.
For those of you who don't know, I shared one of his comics. One person was like, shouldn't you be fact checking all of those or checking who all of them are? And I guess in a
oh god, lefties online are so annoying. Obviously let someone know if they post an apolitical Stonetoss comic, hey, did you know the guy who made this is a Nazi? And maybe provide some blatant evidence, like very undeniable evidence. But god, the jumping on people and expecting, like, you didn't fact check this meme, you didn't check the background of the person who made this comic, this meme comic, before you posted it. Like, no, of course not. How is this? Like, it's this weird idea that that person is a tanky. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, irrelevant to the point. This lady could be an awful tanky, sure. But the people jumping down her throat over that, it's a completely normal human thing to do, to post a meme and not recognize who might have made the meme, right? Like, the expectations are unreasonable.
In an ideal world, yes, but like in real life and in general, I'm not going to do a deep dive background check of every single person I ever see on Twitter and Instagram.
It wasn't all fun and games, though. As Stonetoss's work continued to gain notoriety, his art started to appear in the possession of individuals that went on to commit serious crimes. For example, Stonetoss would find his comic under the microscope in 2022.
Oh, this is what I was thinking of.
Peyton Gendron murdered 10 black people in a racist attack in Buffalo, New York. Prior to the shooting, Peyton published a 700-page web diary detailing his evolution from edgelord teenager to mass murderer. He also wrote a 180-page-long manifesto full of conspiracy theories and memes, including a few comic strips from Stonetoss.
This happened a lot, like, from 2019 to 2020, it seemed, where there was just every year, sometimes a couple times a year, a big mass shooting done by a Nazi where they would post their 100-plus page manifesto to 4chan talking about how they went from just watching, like, anti-SJW videos to shooting up black people and trying to, like, save the white race or whatever. Yeah. Well, nowadays it would be, they would start on 4chan, and then they would migrate over to the real crazy place that is 8chan. Yeah, CoinDog.
Most notably, one claiming that races were different levels of intelligence and behavior. Dad, why do dogs look so different? Because of their breed, son. Why are some so big and some so tall? Their genes, of course. And why are there some clever and others not? Purely economic factors. On another occasion, 33...
The Nazis do love comparing races to dogs. I would like to point out, though, that the reason why we have different dog breeds is because of hundreds, if not thousands of years of selective breeding done intentionally by humans to create essentially an offshoot species. As far as I'm aware, there has never been a multi-thousand-year intentional breeding program to create a particular race or offshoot of humans that would behave in a certain way. That's not like a thing that has happened. So, yeah. Completely false comparison, but to Nazis and to young, uninformed, lacking in logic people, in their mind, it's like, oh, of course, wait, that's a good point. Dog breeds do act different from each other because they were bred to behave a certain way and fulfill a certain task, right? Okay, maybe it makes sense that that same logic could apply to the differences in human behavior. It's a very low-level idea that's meant to make people attribute, oh, it must be true, because that's just common sense. So many conservatives become conservatives because of ideas they heard that they committed to belief and just thought, yeah, that's just basic common sense. No need to look into it deeper. If they felt like it was some new information, they might look into it. They might fact check it. It's important that their arguments feel like common sense, and that means they can't be too complex. They have to... It's a bit like how classic WoW players, despite classic WoW being relatively easy, people are just so bad at the game. It makes them play poorly. I feel like the slow pace of it brings people's brains down to a point where they're not, like, ready to perform when the difficulty spikes, and so they end up sucking. I feel like that's how conservatives train people to think. They, like, prep people to have a very low, like, level conversation in regards to thinking power and the amount of, like, introspection you need to do about the thoughts and ideas being expressed, and then they get you to think about a new idea or a new position that you're adopting with the same primed level of low critical analysis. You just commit it to the pool of ideas that you now know, right?
Year-old Mauricio Garcia opened fire at a shopping mall in Allen, Texas, killing 8 people and wounding half a dozen more. Mauricio didn't leave behind a manifesto or document explaining why he was going to carry out this attack. However,
Yeah, Brian Rimlinger? I hope I pronounced your name right there. Yeah, I've heard Nazis try to argue that, well, slave owners probably, like, intentionally bred their slaves. It's like, well, yeah, they also raped their slaves too, but it takes hundreds or thousands of years to selectively breed a population of any organism to result in, like, a certain outcome. You can't do that in, like, 200 years of slavery. You can't do that in 400 years of slavery. Like, you can't do that you might be able to do it in 1,000. You might be able to do something like that. But as much as eugenics was a thing, as much as slavery was doing that kind of shit, I don't think you could really make the argument that that logic of dog breeds is anywhere close to analogous. It just doesn't work. It's not even like not only is it degrading, not only is it people aren't dogs, it's also just not even analogous on the basis where they're trying to draw the comparison.
He did leave behind a substantial digital footprint on a Russian social media website. Garcia regularly posted memes under the name Psychovision that included a Stonetoss edit. Behold our newest ad campaign, and then a big swastika. It was only a matter of time before the ADL labeled him a far-right illustrator. There was an influx of negative press for anyone associated with the cartoonist. In 2020, he drew fan art for self-described journalist Andy No, who said it as a Twitter banner. This sparked a massive backlash, leading to its silent removal. Stonetoss's community was also banned off of Reddit and Discord. With that in mind, Stonetoss tried to distance himself from the alt-right. That included wiping his more overtly racist comics. As part of this, he...
Really? Are you a Nazi? Surprisingly, I am not a 90-year-old member of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Yes. Nazi only ever refers to the people in Germany in the Nazi Party. No one has ever used the term Nazi to refer to anyone else correctly. Like in the prison system, the neo-Nazi gangs, they're not Nazis. They're not German. That's not what... It's the most, like, smugly smile at the liberal as you trigger them with a stupid response type take. That's the most popular of these people are the ones that can just be confidently and smugly wrong.
He wrote a long defense on the page about his website, arguing he simply made transgressive art. To many, this probably wasn't very convincing, but I think it's worth concluding given the context. I am not a National Socialist, fascist, alt-right, or any kind of supremacist. My crime may be worse, however. I make transgressive art. In my defense, cartooning has a long tradition of slaying society's sacred cows. Its practice predates the United States itself. My work is similar to those often featured by Charlie Hebdo, published in the New York Times and shown on Family Guy, all famous non-Nazis. I have also featured...
This guy's got a massive ego, you can tell.
...works from other artists, including multiple artists of color. I would make a very hypocritical Nazi indeed. With such infamy, it's perhaps unsurprising there was...
Man, he really pulled out the I have black friends card fast.
...was a vested interest in uncovering...
Not even I have black friends, it's like, I have shared art from black artists. Damn, dude. Get the CEO of racism on the phone. His company has gone bankrupt.
Stonetoss's identity. For a long time, many were convinced he was actually an artist named Schmorky with a new persona. Schmorky started off making comics and shorts for the site Something Awful. He got a following on Tumblr before landing professional gigs with Adult Swim. However, the...
Wait. I thought he was Red Panels. Wasn't he the guy called Red Panels? Is this before that? I didn't know this. I can definitely see the similarity in his art style, and the same was the case with the Red Panels guy. I can definitely see how his, like, art style could have evolved over time. Ironically, it got more simple over time. He realized that the less effort he puts in, the the more appealing it is to the right. Gotta remember, the right does not appreciate art. Don't put in effort if you're gonna make, like, art for the right.
He got a following on Tumblr before landing professional gigs with Adult Swim. However, the artist disappeared in 2017 after being exposed for having inappropriate conversations with minors. The theory is that Schmorky disappeared, he secretly became right-wing, and made a new alias. It's worth clarifying that the two are not actually related at all beyond stylistic similarities.
Okay.
Many pointed out his characters look similar to a species Smorky created called Clurfs. Stonetoss would end up embracing this, reversing the first and last letters for an NFT series called Flirks in 2021.
Isn't it insane how many of these Nazis are also just openly NFT and crypto scammers? Like, they've got, like, the crypto dick so far down their throat. I'm sure they're getting in early on the rug pulls. So they're probably making a lot off of it. They've got a reason to be so in favor of it. But God, so many of these people just... I guess it's nice that they're getting their dumbass fans involved in gambling, you know? Like, conservative content supporters having less money is definitely a good thing. So, I suppose I can't complain. Keep on pushing crypto and NFTs on your audiences, right-wing figures. It's good for us. It also destroys their credibility over time, I think. I think, like, in a few years, those that supported the NFT crypto shit and pushed it this hard, that are content creators, it's going to be a very dark mark on their record.
Each of these NFTs depicted characters from his comics, but with randomized clothing and accessories like Confederate flags and MAGA hats. These creations were listed for $1 Ethereum each,
like bread and butter.
Roughly $2,350 at the time. Shockingly, the entire collection sold in 22 minutes, earning Stonetoss roughly $2 million, before OpenSea caught wind of what he was selling, who he was.
Average conservative internet figure. Make $2 million in a day. Sounds about right. Nothing special there.
And decided to ban him from the platform. That wasn't before getting the Quartering and Ricky Berwick their own custom flirks. Fun fact, he actually reached out to me for a custom GFM flirk back in the day, but I respectfully declined. As I saw coming, the collaboration led some to label the creators involved Nazis, although this failed to pick up with the broader internet. Honestly, I think they just wanted to make some money off the crypto wave at the time. With that out of the way, the prevailing theory most had for Stonetoss's past traces back to another political cartoonist who went by the name Red Panels. Launched in 2015, Red Panels described itself as the Red Pill in webcomic form. It held similar racist, anti-Semitic, and white nationalist views. These comics were a lot more overt in their ideology. They actually suffer from the same problems as many of his copycats, over-explaining the joke. Checking your privilege daily is necessary for straight white cis men like yourself, because you need to know how you benefit from society's expectations of you when other people do not. So you're telling me that because of inextricable attributes of myself, people view me as being more intelligent, likable, competent, trustworthy, capable, and attractive than other people unlike me? Yes! The artist quickly gained some prominence in the alt-right, even being shared by Richard Spencer. Spencer even appeared in several comics, with one arguing it was unfair to call him a white supremacist. We're live interviewing Richard Spencer, leader of white supremacists. Well, actually, my preferred pronouns are white identitarian or maybe white nationalist.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Red Panels produced 370 comics over 18 months, until the site came to an abrupt end on February 27, 2017. Red announced his retirement via a comic strip depicting his character dropping into a molten vat before stretching his hand outward. The description attributes this to needing a better paying career.
Stretching his hand outward, you say? True. He did do that. And that's all it was. Don't worry about it.
While narrowing his location to Texas. Red Panels has been the most fun project I have ever undertaken, though it is not the only one I plan to. Producing free comics for you have been immensely rewarding, but future endeavors require the funds that a proper career would provide. If you are privy to a position in the Houston area concerning tech sales or CCNA recipients in April, I'd appreciate a heads up. Following this, Red Panels largely faded into obscurity. However, 4 months later, a new comic titled Stonetoss debuted online. Many noted a striking similarity between the art styles and
I
writing
think-
to Red's
I
later
think it's
comics.
obvious.
For example, characters from both Red Panels and Stonetoss often featured horizontal and vertical lines on their faces and shared hairstyles. Red even acknowledged his art style similarities to Schmorky. LOL, nobody realized I was Schmorky the whole time. In fact, many Stonetoss strips were slight revisions to early work by Red Panel. The similarities led someone to make a chart breaking down the percentage of overlapping opinions. It does appear to track the beliefs of a single person, and some
This is obsessive, I'm not gonna lie. Like, whoever put this together, like, cool and all, but also get help. This is actually obsessive, I'm not going to lie. Holy shit. Oh my god. How do you break down level of agreement by percentage point? That's crazy. Oh my god. Cool.
have even claimed their voices sound alike. Let's play a clip of Red Panel speaking in 2016 in a debate with Sargon of Akkad.
I guess it started out with just plain libertarianism and an appreciation for individual rights.
And this is a clip of Stonetoss speaking on the Kill stream back in 2018.
I appreciate the comparison, but I'm not.
That's the same fucker. Yeah. No, that's the same fucker for sure. Granted, these people tend to have the same kind of tone and way of speaking. They're all very snarky and annoying, but that sounds like the same guy.
I'm not going to try to steal Red Panel's thunder. We've spoken, but I don't want to give away too much about his position. I don't know what I can share about that.
He actually tried to hide this interview for years, getting cold feet. He even had the copyright holder DMCA any re-uploads of it. However, the most convincing similarity is perhaps the most bizarre. You see, Stonetoss has dozens of comics about circumcision. He even promoted a documentary on the subject, calling it the largest human rights violation of our time. Incidentally, I also helped fund the Kickstarter for the movie, and I'm proud to see that it is already topping.
I do think circumcision's pretty fucked up, but like, I don't think it's the worst human rights violation of our time. You know? I just think you probably shouldn't circumcise babies. It's probably not good. Yeah, it's definitely a little cringe.
The charts on Amazon, worth every penny.
Uncut and proud, chat. Uncut and proud.
As it turns out, the first ever Red Panels cartoon is about circumcision, with Jewish vampires being a reoccurring mutual theme. This would end up being a huge lead for those trying to uncover his identity, which culminated in early 2024. On March 12th, the Anonymous Comrades Collective and late-night anti-fascists claimed to have discovered the cartoonist's real identity. This 99-tweet thread received more than 13 million views.
I remember covering this. Yeah. Yep. I remember covering this when it happened. This is the last time I talked about him. All the way back in March, huh? Man. I think he just ran away from the internet after this. I haven't heard about him or seen anything from him since this happened. I wonder if he's still around. We'll have to watch and see.
Exposing conclusive links between Stonetoss, Red Panels, and the suspect in question. Their search began with a Reddit AMA done by Red Panels in 2016. Red provided background information including his job as a private security guard and his past on the image board 8chan. That included an exchange reminiscing on the site's first birthday. Haven't seen Mark since the first 8chan B-Day party. Nice dude. This led them to a New York Magazine article from 2014 covering the very event. The author describes in a
Gamergate supporters partied at a strip club this weekend in 2014. Jesus Christ. This year was the beginning of what the right built that managed to get Trump in office this election. This was when it started. Gamergate was the beginning of the right's massive multi-hundred million, maybe multi-billion dollar project of creating a empire online.
New York Magazine article from 2014 covering the very event. The author describes an enormous bald man named Hans, who flew in from Texas. If you recall, Red Panels referenced living in Houston. This is where anti-fascists started using leaked information. Through information leaked in the infamous Gab data breach, they connected his personal email address to an account named Scythe001. This immediately caught their attention, as several Reddit accounts using variations of that name were very active promoters of Stonetoss cartoons. Scythe001 shared many personal details that aligned with Red Panel's. He was in Texas, worked as a private security guard, and used to live in the state Hans went to college. They also discovered Hans' previous work at a literal soy company. But what sealed the deal was
Hans is Stonetoss, by the way. Stonetoss worked at a soy company. He was a literal soy boy. I'm pretty sure soy boy is the name of the people who have to, like, pack the soy in the factory. He was molded by the soy.
The user's fixation on circumcision. They discovered literally hundreds of comments on the subreddit, including one that mirrored the very first Red Panel's cartoon. The appearance of the penis is permanently altered. Many considered it a disfigurement.
The only reason to be this angry about it is if something went wrong during the operation and now your dick is disfigured / doesn't work right. The appearance of the penis is permanently altered. Many consider it a disfigurement. The reason for not wanting it to be circumcised are more than sensational. Well, why are we arguing about circumcision like this? Shouldn't the argument just be, like, you don't do things to your baby's body that they are not sentient enough to agree to? Like, I think that's pretty much the argument.
Reasons for not wanting to be circumcised are more than sensation alone. Congratulations on being happy about it, really. I wish I was. For me, it was destruction. A permanent scar from what I think is an otherwise beautiful and natural-looking instrument of intimacy. My circumcision? Only thing I wasn't able to fix, nor will I ever be able to. I like the look of a natural penis. He even donated to the first
Stonetoss? I know what you are.
Only foreskin regeneration company in the world. My feelings about my own
Foreskin regeneration. Are we talking some, like, healing factor shit?
circumcision have been nearly as suicidalic. Part of the way I manage this is by exercising what level of control I have as a regular 4gen donor. That's all to say that the links between Stonetoss, Red Panels, and this so-called Hans seem conclusive. It wasn't long until they spotted his name across old YouTube live streams and even reviews for the app Gab. While most of his information had been wiped, they found he worked at an IT company shortly after Red Panels ended. He was part of a delegation that went to Japan in May of 2019. At the exact same time, Stonetoss made the following tweet. "Finally made it to the ethno-state, fellas. Holy shit, I just realized you can drop the N-word in Japan and nobody cares." Well, I'll conceal his...
Yeah, this is why the Chuds really love Japan. It's like they consider it the Holy Land. It's like their Mecca.
His full identity and name for this video. The reason I bring it up at all is because the most shocking part of this reveal is the fact that Stonetoss, often accused of being the internet's most notorious white supremacist, was in fact Latino. Following the release of this massive thread, Stonetoss began trending with widespread ridicule and mockery.
Who's a white supremacist? Hands up. Who's actually white? No one's got their hands... Yeah. 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 Dude, the Latinos are the best at being white supremacists, I'm telling you. Nick Fuentes, Stonetoss, like Enrique Tarrio, the leader of the Proud Boys. He might be in prison now. Like, every prominent Nazi these days has a Latino name. Their names have Z's in them. You know? It's like, god dang. Interesting.
There was an influx of memes, mainly about his purportedly non-white heritage. It sparked a debate about the ethics of doxing, though most...
I love this meme. General white race savior. You're browner than I expected.
Purportedly non-white heritage. It sparked a debate about the ethics of doxing, though most weren't sympathetic. Stonetoss immediately took to Twitter asking for anyone with a direct connection to Elon Musk to help in burying his dox. One of you has a direct line to Elon Musk, and you need to use it. I'm too obstinate to be intimidated out of anything.
He is very clearly intimidated, though. Like, why? You can't claim you're not intimidated while you are begging for Elon Musk to suppress your docs, okay? You're clearly intimidated by it.
But I realize my temperament is so...
Dude, you're a Republican in Texas. Just buy a gun. Like, why are YouTubers so testy about their, like, addresses getting doxxed? Like, if it happens, oof, you know? Buy a gun. If anyone fucks with you, then just protect yourself lawfully. There you go. Problem solved, especially if you're a Texan. Why freak out over getting doxxed?
Something that less than 1% of people have. If Elon's idea of a free speech website is one where people can be intimidated into silence, the outcome will be a site where the Stasi will drive out all dissent. This transition to a monoculture is already underway. I will stay to the end, of course, but I am an outlier, not the mean. If he needs a short list of the worst offenders, that can be easily provided. While Stonetoss's identity spread like wildfire, in a controversial move, Elon obliged. Just hours after the...
This is what's called the Streisand effect. Now that Elon has gotten involved and, like, answered his request, the story is going to get even more attention, and the information that's been attempted to be covered up is just going to get that out there even further. Like, he's now set in stone that no one will ever forget this.
Thread was posted, the perpetrators were indefinitely suspended. He also banned anyone posting the cartoonist's real name before updating the site's privacy policy to specify that users cannot share the identity of an anonymous user, such as their name or media depicting them without that person's permission. This decision was met with great uproar, as prior there had been no such considerations when right-wing accounts comparably targeted LGBTQ people. The ordeal was eventually...
Libs of TikTok is, like, literally endorsed by Elon and Twitter, and is just a right-wing doxing account now. It just doxes random lefties that go viral on TikTok saying something they don't like. They try to get them fired. Like, obviously, doxing isn't against Twitter's rules. Being a left-winger and doxing a prominent Nazi is against Twitter's rules.
Covered by NBC, who wrote, Stonetoss's X account posted this week that they had been wrongly labeled a Nazi, and they said they were making money off of the dispute by selling plushie dolls online. Black Enterprise even cited this as an example of events related to X's moderation that preceded the World Bank's decision to pull its advertising from the platform. If there was any doubt left over his views, a week later logs surfaced from his official Telegram. The first message from Stonetoss was a misspelled greeting, hello. The second message was also from Stonetoss. It was a single uncensored slur and nothing else. The N-word. From this point on, the chat room is filled with Stonetoss comics and almost exclusively virulent comment responses from other chat room members. Stonetoss's community excessively uses slurs for black people, LGBTQ+ people, disabled people, and Jewish people multiple times on a daily basis. Oftentimes, slurs are practically the only form of communication in the chat logs.
This is such a real description of the average, like, right-wing group chat. It really is just, like, people trying to out-racist each other a lot of the time. Like, we're really talking about a bunch of little, like, giggly shits here. When we're talking about these people. Like, they are really just a bunch of giggly little shits.
Ultimately, Stonetoss was able to survive this expose, with his account now sitting at just under 500,000 followers. In conclusion, it's clear that Stonetoss is a creative individual with a knack for cartoons and commentary. That's perhaps the weirdest part of all of this. Stonetoss might be the most famous web cartoonist of all time. Whether you recognize his name or not, you've likely seen his work. They've been modified to express different opinions than the original. Lefty Stonetoss, Antifa Stonetoss, Wholesome Stonetoss. Stonetoss in general has become a meme template.
This is a really good example of how the arguing with the ideas doesn't defeat them. Like, these people have to be banned or suppressed for any actual change to happen. Like, there is no community policing. Like, the truth does not win out in the end on its own. I'm curious what the comment section of this video looks like. Him not being white is the funniest plot twist ever. This went from edgy cartoonist to that guy from the Silent Hill forums, lol. I laughed at the "And Horse Lover Vosh" title. I forgot that was a thing. The circumcision bit is giving me flashbacks of that one dude acting up at the Silent Hill wiki. Same hyperfixation, what are the odds? Meanwhile, at the alternate universe, where's Stonetoss is actually Schmorky snapped. Not even close to the most hated. It seems like most of the comments are like, I don't hate Stonetoss. He's not the most hated. What do you mean? Man. Got a lot of work to do, guys. The normies love Stonetoss. They love him. They far from hate him. We got a lot of work to do. Even after all that, most of the comments are like, he is not the most hated. They certainly don't seem to hate him for it. Anyway, guys, go check out the original Gamer from Mars video. It should be put in the description of this video. If it's not, go ahead and leave a comment reminding my editor to do so if he forgets. Also, if you want to support the channel, then please consider leaving a thumbs up and a comment. Likes and comments are the best way to support the channel, whether it's live or going up as its own video. Helps to push my content into the recommended and get in front of more viewers, so I really do appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who does that. And of course, subscribe and ring the bell icon if you haven't already, so that YouTube knows to tell you when I go live or upload new videos. If you don't, they won't. You can also follow my social medias, linked down below in the description, including my Blue Sky and my Discord server. And finally, if you want to support me directly financially, you can do so through my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or buying merch through the Streamlabs link down below. I want to say thank you to everybody who does that. You help me keep the lights on, the roof above my head as always. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching this segment. I really appreciate it, and as always, have a good one.